This is Kevin at Pope with the Pope's Perspective and my 30 days of Disney. And today, I'm gonna wreck it! So, Wreck-It Ralph and its sequel, Ralph Breaks the Internet. Okay, so a little bit. Ralph is a video game villain. Okay, so kind of Donkey Kong-esque. Okay, where Ralph is at the top of the building. He's kind of just like wrecking it, the debris, and just throwing stuff at Fix-It Felix, who goes around the building fixing the windows. I can fix it, brum, brum. And so it's pretty much it's what he does day in and day out. It's his job. Okay, but after work, the thing is he's still considered a villain. He even goes to this villain therapy group where it has all of these other video game villains. And that's the thing with Wreck-It Ralph is like, it's the Who Framed Roger Rabbit of video games in a lot of ways. Like, it has these video game characters. You see Sonic the Hedgehog, you see Pac-Man, the one who's like monitoring the meeting for the villain, I guess you call it Villains Anonymous, is like a Pac-Man ghost, and it's really fun. But the main key of the story is Ralph just going out. It's like, I'm gonna be a hero. Like, I'm sick of being a villain. So he leaves his game. He leaves his game. He goes to Grand Central Station. So it's like this Grand Central Station, which essentially is actually like, okay, it all takes place like in an arcade. Like, it's the games inside the arcade. So we see people come in and playing the game in the arcade, and then inside the games is a whole nother world. And so it's like the what is it called? So pretty much where they what is it called? But anyway, where they plug all the games in, that's pretty much the Grand Central Station. So they all go with the kind of like this Grand Central Station of all the games, kind of just traveling, and really such a fun concept. Like, the premise of this film alone is just so much fun. But then it takes the premise of a villain who, he's kind of made to be the villain. He's not really a villain, but everybody sees him as the villain because that's the world they live in. And so he leaves his game, and without Ralph, Fix-It Felix cannot fix the windows. So people are playing the game, and it's just like, fix it. I can fix it. I can fix it. I can fix it. But there's no Ralph breaking the windows, so there's nothing for him to fix, and it just seems like the game has gone cuckoo. And so Ralph goes and explores into other games to try to be a hero. He goes into this game that's kind of like Call of Duty. Yeah, isn't that the real game, Call of Duty? But it's called Heroes Duty. And then he ends up in a game called Sugar Rush, a racing game. And that's where he meets Vanellope, okay, who is a glitch in her game. She wants to be a racer in the game, and all the other racers pick on her and like, you can't be a racer. We're not gonna let you race and all that. So you've got these two oddballs, these two misfits, and they come together. And then you have King Candy, the ruler of Sugar Rush, and he doesn't like Ralph there. He's like, Ralph, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. That's the way he talks. He talks like this. I love his voice. Alan Tuki. Yeah. Most of you remember him as Welch from Firefly. Yeah, he sure plays a lot of characters. I don't know if I'm getting their names right or not, but if you've seen Firefly, you know who I'm talking about. This was the first film he did for Disney. He's kind of become a Disney good luck charm. He's been in every subsequent Disney animated film. But that's a little going off on a little tangent. So anyway, the fun of King Candy is there's a whole build up that you find out more about who King Candy really is and why he wants to stop Ralph and why he doesn't want Vanellope to race. And okay, so much like Disney has been going off into the surprise villain, like, oh, this is really the villain. But here's the thing, like there's a surprise with King Candy, but we still get to see him plotting and scheming, and that's what makes it half the fun. And then we find out, like, oh, that makes sense. And so it's a fun movie all around, great characters. I'm not going to go as in-depth for Ralph Breaks the Internet because I already reviewed Ralph Breaks the Internet. I've talked about it a lot on my channel when the film first came out, and it made my favorite films of the year. But they took the premise and they expanded it into the internet, and I love Ralph Breaks the Internet even more than Wreck-It Ralph. Okay, both films are great. I love both of these films. Okay, and just where they go with it. Okay, so with the internet, they don't have as much of the video game cameos. Okay, Vanellope at one point ends up with Disney, and we get a lot of Disney, but that's just one moment of the film. But it's also a really fun moment of the film. It's not the whole movie, but it's a fun moment. And I talked a lot about the Disney princess scene, and it's just beautiful. And so these films are really fun, and I love when a sequel is not only as good as the first, but actually improves on the first. Like, there's nothing wrong with Wreck-It Ralph. I love Wreck-It Ralph. And then Wreck-It Ralph 2 is it's so much fun. They took the characters that have been established, they built this relationship between, that's where Ralph meets Vanellope, and then Wreck-It Ralph 2 becomes about Ralph and Vanellope's friendship, and that friendship gets tested, and it's so good. And I don't know if I talked a lot about Gal Gadot's character in Ralph Breaks the Internet. So she plays this character from the game called Slaughter Race, which is the game that Vanellope falls in love with because she's grown tired of Sugar Rush. She wants something new. And so the wheel of Sugar Rush gets broken and the game needs to be fixed. And so that's why they go to the internet to get a new wheel for Sugar Rush from eBay so that Vanellope's game can be fixed. But in the process, they end up going to Slaughter Race, and Vanellope just falls in love with Slaughter Race. She's like, this. I feel at home now. Like, and they have this whole song they sing. She sings, so which was triggered by the Disney princesses because she basically has a slumber party with the Disney princesses, and Ariel just starts singing out of the blue about how wonderful it is to be wearing a shirt. And she's like, wait a minute, where did that music come from? Did you just start singing? Like, yeah. Because the princess is like, there's nothing weird about that. You just sing from your soul. Sing what you want. Sing about, like, oh. And so she starts singing about the wheel, and it doesn't go into a song. And then later she has this whole song she sings about Slaughter Race. And it was written by Alan Menken. So, classic Disney composer. And it's a great song. It's so funny. But at the same time, the song is also really touching because Vanellope is talking about her new dream and what will Ralph support me in the dream? And it's a really touching film, and props to the film. I guess I'm giving a spoiler, but I'm not giving a spoiler. I love how there's no surprise villain in Wreck-It Ralph 2. and it doesn't need it. Like, I got so tired of the surprise villain trope. I'm pretty sure I talked about it in my Wreck-It Ralph 2 review. And so it was refreshing as I was watching the film, and I got to the point where I realized there's no surprise villain. And I loved where they went with the film. It was great. So, Wreck-It Ralph and Ralph Breaks the Internet, great films, great franchise. If they decide to do another one, I'm okay with that. I think there's still plenty to be explored here. If we just have these two, that's fine too. But it's becoming one of my favorite Disney franchises, and that is The Pope's Perspective.